Alright, people. Welcome to our first ever episode of Fantasy Warfare. Warfare? We are afraid of war here.
We're terrified of war.
I'm not. I'll war right now.
Welcome to Fantasy Warfare. Here's how it works. These two have picked a wrestler. Kevin Hawk has picked,
Mike Quackenbush.
and Travis Colt has picked,
ECW into WCW era, Dean Malenko.
and I am Thomas Wolf. I will be your referee. That means I will moderate the fight here. I have 5 questions that I will ask them. Open questions about the wrestlers in the match. I will give them each whoever answers to my satisfaction will each get a point, but those points might not matter because there will be a closing statement that can sway my vote. So let's kick off with opening statements. Kevin Hawk?
My opening statement is very quick and concise in the fact that I respect Dean Malenko for being the man of 1,000 holds. Unfortunately, Mike Quackenbush already has the advantage because he's the master of 1,000 holds.
All right. Travis Colt.
Opening statement. Once again, I too respect Mike Quackenbush. He's done a lot for wrestling. But Dean Malenko was trained in the old school way with his father Boris and many of the Japanese legends. So this intensity, although you may master 1,000 holds, intensity will be way too much for your master of 1,000 holds to take advantage.
All right. Let's start the timer and get on with this match. Question 1. Who is the fan favorite?
That's tough. I almost, from a character standpoint, I would say Mike Quackenbush would be the fan favorite because if you lend himself to Chikara, his mainstay promotion for the last 10 years of his career or better, it's all based off of the high energy comic book-esque characters, whereas Dean Malenko has never been known as a charisma guy. So, I mean, if you're looking at it from a purist wrestling fan standpoint, it could be a very hard toss-up. If you're looking at it as a little kid going, ooh, who's my favorite? Probably Mike Quackenbush, who's going to be a little flashier and a little more charismatic.
But as far as wrestling goes, it spans beyond just children. Children, yes, would be much more drawn to the Chikara level stuff. But Dean Malenko has been in the 3 top promotions that wrestling has ever had, and being a prominent staple member in all 3. You've got ECW, where his feud with Eddie Guerrero, after 16 years of being in Japan and Mexico and running promotions with his dad down in Florida, he has not only transcended into ECW, but carried that feud and stayed just as relevant in WCW, and then made a huge impact for the last couple of years of his career in WWE with people like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Perry Saturn.
All right, that's just about 2 minutes, so we're going to move on to the next question. 2 minutes goes by really fast.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Well,
All right, question 2. Who has more applicable experience? Which means beyond just who's wrestled longer, what types of opponents have they wrestled, where have they wrestled, what skills can they bring to this match? Go.
I'm going to say Dean Malenko, right off the bat, gets that advantage purely on the fact that he's spent, before even going to ECW and WCW, he was in Japan and Mexico for 16 years. From 79 until 95, he was wrestling multiple shows at a time in these different countries, learning different styles. Not only that, but he was trained in the old school way. It was drilled into him that if you cannot take the punishment, you don't come back.
Fair enough. I mean, Mike Quackenbush has made it a staple, very similar to Dean Malenko's, where he's made sure he was versed in just about every style possible. And, that's what it shows. Even if you look at the logo he designed for Chikara, the original logo, it says pro wrestling, it says pro wrestler, it says lucha libre, it says MMA. It has all the different forms of entertainment combat you could put together. So it's just such a well-versed style of everything that you could throw together.
Yeah, I don't think Dean Malenko needs a logo to show that, though. He has proven that in the ring, being a prominent star in 3 well-known promotions and in New Japan, Big Japan, he has done it all in just about any promotion you can think of.
Okay. About 30 more seconds for this question, so if you have anything...
Then I'd say Quackenbush, it shows on his because he's trained, X amount, more than 3 dozen people in the exact same way he himself was trained. And that includes guys who you see on WWE on a regular basis now.
That is true.
Okay. Question 3, and something I should be doing here is at the end of each of these, telling who wins and why. So, not going to do all the why because I've moved on enough. Fan favorite went to Travis Colt for your argument. Experience went to Kevin Hawk for your argument. It's based on the arguments. Now, we're not taking them from nowadays. I want to be clear on that. This is...
Yeah, because you said circa the ECW transition to WWE,
right.
WCW.
Yeah.
And this is late 2000s Mike Quackenbush.
Yeah,
and I wanted to
2010-ish.
establish that because this next question is about who has more stamina. Who can outlast their opponent in this match?
That's tougher. I mean, I think I might... I don't know. I didn't do any research on this as far as where this was in Dean Malenko's career as far as his age is concerned during that transition. I feel like it would be a really, really even matchup at this point as far as stamina is concerned because I've watched Mike Quackenbush wrestle in, trios matches and Atomicos matches that have went upwards of 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree because at this point, so this is 95 to 98-ish, about a 3-year span, and he's 55 now. So you go back 20 years, he's in his mid-30s. I'd say they'd probably be around the same age. I think with the experience in working strong style, the lucha libre style, in the matches he's had with 2 out of 3 falls with Eddie Guerrero for the television championship, going against people like Scorpio or Too Cold Scorpio, and then going into WCW, going against people like Chris Jericho and going against Conan. He's got a lot of different size opponents that he's going against. I feel like in Chikara, you get some smaller guys, but I don't necessarily think you get Quackenbush going against a wide variety of size guys. So I think he doesn't have as much experience as far as wrestling different types of styles with different types of people.
Okay, I'm actually giving that point to Kevin Hawk because the question was about stamina, and you actually kind of swayed it in my mind when you said that Chikara has smaller guys who are more known for a faster-paced style, meaning that more often Mike Quackenbush will have to wrestle faster matches. He'll have to do more cardio in his matches than a slower, bigger guy that Dean Malenko might.
I think stamina goes far beyond whether or not you can keep pace, but okay. Fair enough.
Now we're going to move on to the end of the match. Who has the more dangerous finisher?
Well, I mean, as far as my experience with Dean Malenko is tried and true is the Texas Cloverleaf.
Definitely.
Which is an awesome move. And it still goes to show to this day, Sheamus uses it. So you still see it, it's still relevant. I have a hard time deciding who has the most dangerous finisher, just because Mike Quackenbush has an infinite amount of finishers. He's had 4 variations of the Quacken Driver. He has the alpha. He's got the 3 different submission holds he specializes in, and he invented the Chikara special, which is a submission hold that everybody in Chikara uses. So for me, it's hard to decide, but I mean, I would say I'd give the finisher advantage to Mike Quackenbush, not over who has the more dangerous, but his more versatility, because he's got 8 or 9 different moves he's capped as finishers.
I think that actually gives it to Dean Malenko, because he is specified in one specific move to finish his matches on more than one occasion. Yeah, Mike Quackenbush has a arsenal, but he has relied on this particular move to win multiple matches in every promotion he's been in. So I think with the fact that you're focusing specifically your game plan on a limb, attacking it, and making sure that is what finishes the match, I think that goes to Dean Malenko.
Yeah, I'm calling it. Quote from Bruce Lee says that I would rather face the man who has practiced one punch 1,000 times than 1,000 punches one time. Give that to Dean Malenko. Shut up, phone. Now,
Your phone might be arguing with you.
we
That's
have...
Bruce Lee.
One more question?
Yeah.
All right.
We have the master of 1,000 holds versus the man of 1,000 holds. So what we know about this match is there will be somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 holds definitively. Who knows more holds? Take that question how you will. It's about their arsenal, their skill set.
Who knows more holds?
Take that to mean what you will. It's their arsenal, their skill set that we're talking about right now.
I mean, me personally, I would say it's a draw, an even draw. If you're going between Dean Malenko and Mike Quackenbush, it would be an even draw, because, for me, I'm going based off of the title alone, that they're both 1,000 holds. I said the only thing would be the only person who could beat both of them would be Jericho,
because he has 1,004. I think the only thing that would sway it in Dean Malenko is Quack has different variations of a specific hold. Does that make them a different hold, or just does that make it a different hold? Like,
if it's enough to get him up to say where they call it 1,000 holds, I would say it would be.
All right, I'm going to call this one early. I'm giving the point to Travis because there was one thing I was looking for in your argument that, had you said it, you would have clinched it, that Mike Quackenbush is wrestling at a later period in time where more holds have been used and more variations have been made.
Yeah, true.
I'm glad you didn't say that. That would have ruined me.
So, right now, Travis Colt is leading 3-2, but you can take it back with the closing statements. So, since you're behind, I'm going to let you start.
All right. I did a little research on Dean Malenko, and I'm going to say, I was impressed when I found out that the PWI ranked him the #1 wrestler in '97.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, having wrestled more years consecutively than Mike Quackenbush, Mike Quackenbush made the PWI 500 18 years in a row. Dean Malenko's only made it to the list 10 times. And Mike Quackenbush holds 34 championships over 18 different promotions. So I feel like I might have cinched it just over accolades, and even including the fact that he's been a winner of IWA Mid-South's Ted Petty Invitational and Combat Zones Wrestling Best of the Best tournament, and the inaugural winner of Chikara's King of Trios tournament.
Now, did you say that Quackenbush made it to #1 18 times, or he's just been on the list 18 times?
He's been on the list 18 times.
Because, sure, going back to what we were saying about the finisher, it's not about how many times you've been there, it's where you've ranked on that list. And I feel like being #1 gives an edge to Dean Malenko. Now, yes, you might have more championships in the Quackenbush camp as opposed to Dean Malenko, but I feel like if you take 33 championships in indie promotions, does that add up to the amount of championships that Dean Malenko's won in prominent promotions? prominent promotion championships are held in much higher regard than independent promotions, other than those niche crowds. So as an overall worldwide audience watching ECW and WCW, he was immediately put into that light heavyweight division in WCW, going against people like Jericho, carrying his feud with Eddie Guerrero over, and then in WCW, or in ECW, winning the television championship a couple different times. So I feel like having that status and winning those championships mean much more than winning multiple championships in smaller promotions.
Basing the idea off of prominency, then I lean more towards Quackenbush again, going off of PWI looks, because Dean Malenko made it 10 times to the PWI list, being a guy who's on 2 different nationally televised promotions at the time, and then, you know, the last 2, I think, were while he was in WWE. Mike Quackenbush made it on 18 times, only having a handful of, like, 2 or 3 matches that have made national television. So to make that prominence over guys who were on Raw and SmackDown and Nitro on a weekly basis without having the same national television exposure speaks to his level.
I'd still say being number 1 gives an advantage to Dean Malenko, though.
Okay, so I'm not sure who I'm giving this one to yet. I gotta talk this out a little bit. We're talking, not to knock indie promotions, but we're talking quantity versus quality here. And it's difficult because normally, you know, general knowledge says, you know, quality over quantity, but when there's enough quantity, does that make up for it? I'm gonna go, based on all the arguments, the winner of the first Fantasy Warfare is Dean Malenko.
Yeah! The Iceman. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't want to face Quackenbush, though. He'd bend me in so many different directions.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
I mean, this was a close one. Basically,
The fact that we picked guys with 1,000 holds
Yeah.
apiece was already like... it's right.
my ruling just came down to, in the score, you had one more point, and the closing statements I couldn't really decide between. So that 1 point just etched it to your side.
I thought I was totally unprepared.
So, yeah.
I totally had extra stuff I could have added on there.
So, that's it for the first Fantasy Warfare. It was the intro, outro, kind of a mess, but I think the format went good, so we'll keep playing around with this and
Maybe
stay
add a
tuned.
minute or 2.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Do you think that Dean Malenko should have won? If not, tell us why.
I think you should have won.
Well, you're the moderator, so
Yeah.
that's...
Well, you picked him to win, so I
Yeah.
expected
So,
that's who you thought.
alright, so thank you for joining us on this first Fantasy Warfare. Next time, it's going to be me versus Travis
I'm
Colt
gonna keep this winning
with
streak going.
Kevin Hawk as our referee. And what's our match going to be?
It's going to be a ladder match.
Ooh.
And due to the circumstances behind the scenes, Travis Colt, you've earned the chance to pick first who is your wrestler.
I am going with the Demon, Finn Balor.
And Mr. Wolf, your challenger, your
I will
opponent.
go with Prince Devitt. No, I'm just kidding. I will go with, not current, maybe early 2000s Edge.
All right.
Definitely not current, because that match would not go well.
I
for me.
win automatically.
So, yeah, Finn Balor versus Edge in a ladder match. That's what you guys got to look forward to on episode 2 of Fantasy Warfare.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have all the bad stuff worked out.
Thanks for watching.